This is the Marketing Podcast Network.
Stories influence, teach, and inspire us. But what about the storytellers who create them? Uncorking a Story profiles storytellers to uncover how their background and life experiences influence the stories they create. We learn what motivates them, their path to success, and what fuels them to keep creating. It all starts by asking one simple question: where does your story begin? Welcome to Uncorking a Story. Now here's your host, Mike Carlin.
Well, hello and welcome to Uncorking a Story. I'm your host, Mike Carlin, and today I'm pleased to introduce you to KK Weakley. KK was born and reared in Wexford, Ireland. She's written 11 books and plays for the stage. She loves to read historical fiction and a good love story kind of book, and she writes tales of castles, warriors, hell demons, witches, and whatever else comes to that very creative mind. Her latest series is the Sekhet Saga. The series has 3 books now and a 4th one, it sounds like, on the way, which KK will tell us all about momentarily. Welcome to Uncorking a Story, KK Weakley.
Thank you.
KK, tell me, where does your story as an author begin?
The story for me?
For you, yeah.
I've been writing for about 16 years, and initially the first thing I ever wrote was a play.
Okay.
And this when I first started writing books, it had started off as a play, and it just kept going and going, and then it turned into a trilogy. So yeah.
The never-ending play. What were you doing at the time before you were kind of writing? What were you doing for a living? What was going on in your life?
I was working in a residential home for disabled intellectual and physical disabilities, which I went to college for, and I loved it. And I used to write on nights because I used to be doing like 12-hour night shifts, and when everybody was sleeping, then I do a bit of writing, and yeah, it's a great job.
What did you always have the dream to be a writer? Or was that like when you were a little girl? Were you dreaming about that?
Well, when I was really young, actually, I used to spend all my time writing down and copying stuff out of medical books, believe it or not. And I used to draw all the diagrams, and I'd spend hours doing it. And that's kind of how it started. I just had an interest in it, but then I always loved like the Irish folklore and all the stories that kind of surround all that, kind of my heritage and all that. So yeah.
So it sounds like you grew up in Ireland, huh?
Yeah.
How would you characterize your childhood growing up in Ireland?
Oh, it was fun. Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
What made it so fun?
Well, I was just telling my husband the other day about one of the times that my brother and myself and my cousin Frankie and a couple of their friends, we were over in one of the ruins of the castle, and we were all playing and pretending to be knights and what have you. And we decided to go down and walk along the train tracks and out to Shell Island, out in Carcar, and then we misplaced like the time, and we had to run because the train was coming, so we had to jump down at the side, over the water, and it was just little things. And when I think back now, like, it's kind of, I was a bit dodgy, but it was a lot of fun. But it's like, whoops. If my kids did it now, I'd be like, what were you doing? Yeah, it was like,
that's right. It was good for you, but maybe not for them, right? Tell me about that play you wrote, the first play. So it's your first stab at writing something like that?
Yeah, it was Brotherhood of the Celts. It's based in like around the 17th century, because that's my favorite time in history. And it is 3 Irish Paquettes and 3 Scottish Highlanders, and it's during the Battle of Culloden. Yeah.
What draws you to that period of time, the 17th century?
I hate to say the wars, but I really I'm fascinated in how they fought and the history surrounding what came about, and a lot of stuff is going on in that time in both Ireland and Scotland and everything. And it's just the whole thing when it comes together. It's just, I don't know, if I ever went back in time, I'd probably like to go there. Mind you, it'd probably be dangerous, but yeah.
That's right. You'd have to go prepared. Well, what can you share with me about the Sekhet series?
Okay, so this Sekhet Saga is set between here in Kashmir, where I live in Washington, and Seattle, where two of my main characters are set. And the main thing is in Twisp. And I was looking for a small American, all-American town. And Kashmir is very much a small American, all-American town. But because I'm a local, I didn't want to get too much. So I got on the map, and I looked for this, and Twisp drew my attention because I like the name, and it reminded me of a chocolate bar. So I wanted to find out more about it. So I contacted the chief of police up there, Paul Boudreau, and I went up and I interviewed him and learned a bit about the town, and I made him basically one of my main characters in Sekhet. He's Jack Boudreau, the chief of police, in the book. And generally it's said about like a coven of witches in Twisp. There's demons, there's Lucifer, there's Lilith. Sekhet is a piece of work, but I love her. She's great. But it gets dark, but there's a love story, obviously. Well, love interest, I guess. Yeah, it gets dark. I got originally I was like, maybe I'll try young adult, but I go too dark for young adult.
Right.
So it's adults.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Trying to kind of align with like Twilight or something like that.
No. I can't write Twilight. It's too foo-foo.
I know.
But you know what? I read the books. I enjoyed the books, but I know I like dark, and I like writing for adults.
Where does your fascination with dark and witches and demons come from?
I think it was where I grew up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of demons in that part of Ireland.
I don't know about demons, but it's like it's just everything. You have like the folklore about the fairies and the banshee and the everything kind of comes. And I've always been fascinated with the witch trials and yeah. And I like that kind of. I like all the things surrounding it. It's interesting.
So you have there are currently 3 books in the saga.
Yeah.
With a 4th on the way. Is there anything you can share about that forthcoming 4th book, or is it too early to talk about it?
No, it's not too early. I literally just finished it like about 20 minutes ago. So I'm going to go after we're finished here. I'm going to have a shot and celebrate. It's a continuation on. I wanted to do a standalone for a character, just a standalone, and just start with the beginning of one character and go on and on. But as it started, I couldn't leave out the characters that I love that much. So it's in all my books I always write Ireland into it. I always add some kind of entity. So there is like an Irish entity in it that's got involved, and I have the wisps in it, and I have there's it's still dark. It's dark, and I think that people are going to be surprised at who survives and who does not.
Yeah. Well, with so many kind of books and plays under your belt, I'm curious, how did you build a career as a writer? And what advice would you have for, a lot of people who listen to the show are people who are writers, but also aspiring writers. What kind of advice would you share with them?
Well, I've always said, never delete anything. Never get offended when you get a review that you thought could have been nicer, or, don't have any of your friends read your stuff and then say, actually, I would change. I don't change anything, because what you write is what you write. And that's up to your editor to change it and talk you through it. And don't be downhearted when you get rejected from publishing houses or finding an agent if you choose to go down that road. It's a long road. It's busy. It's time consuming. But it's very enjoyable. If you have an over imagination, you'll be good.
Yeah. Well, tell me, because I know one of the hardest things about the process isn't necessarily the writing. It's the business side of things, and it is finding that publisher. And oftentimes to find a publisher, you need to have an agent. So how did you find your agent?
I really, really wanted Jan Cardy's. I really did. And I'm not going to say I chased her. I did contact her, and I hadn't heard anything for nearly a year. And then she contacted me, and there was like underlying reasons that she had, and it was her own personal thing going on. And I waited, and I didn't apply, and I didn't approach anybody else, because after a year I was going to approach her again. And in the meantime, I just kept on writing. And when she contacted me, I did a little like dance. I was very excited. And I was blessed then to get Barbara Ellis Unico. She is the most amazing editor. She always sees like the bigger picture. Yeah.
So the full story, the content edit, that side of things, sort of making sure the story is
making sure it flows, because as you're writing, unless you're going to go back, you get used to the story so much that, well, personally I do, once I'm done, I'm not going to go back and read over it, because I'm got so used to it and I know what the story is. But then she can read it, and then all of a sudden she sends it back with like red lines going through it, go delete. I'm like, oh my God, why? So she sees what I want, and then she could move it to another part, and we'll discuss it. And she's wonderful.
Sounds like a very collaborative working relationship with your editor.
Oh God, yes. Yeah.
So it brings to mind, I mean, there are some ways, aspiring authors go to find an agent. I call it like a buckshot approach, where they'll just query a bunch of agents at the same time. You, sounds like you did your research, you found Jan, and you just pursued her almost like in a monogamous like way. Why did you choose that versus trying to, I know it took a while, but what was it about Jan that you were just so kind of head over heels about?
I had done my research on her, and I had done my research on Black Hawk literary company, and there was no bad or negative anything about them. And all I was thinking then was, if it's meant to be, it's going to be. And I'll wait out, and I'll continue to do what I've always done. And eventually, if it didn't come to be, I would have eventually, branched out somewhere else. But she was worth the wait.
So how has your writing and your career changed since working with Black Hawk?
Oh, like 110%. Not my writing per se, I still write the same, but to have the support system is massive. And then my publisher, they're wonderful. I've had to kind of, there's been times where I couldn't write because of my health, and I've kind of, I missed a couple of months at one stage where I couldn't write at all. So, and they were very understanding, and no matter what I want, they're just like, okay, we got it. So, I'm very blessed with them as well.
Yeah, there is the aspect of writing, which can be a very solitary process, sitting alone, writing your work, drafting your manuscript, but then it becomes collaborative at some point, right? It becomes collaborative with your agent, your editor, and eventually your publisher. Can you talk to the importance of that collaboration?
It's huge to an extent that, you know what, you can do a lot on your own. A lot of people I know don't want to go down the avenue that I went down. They're quite happy doing everything themselves, and they're wonderful at it. They're wonderful at the marketing, they're wonderful at all of that. Me, I like having the support system so that if I'm completely unsure about something, I will have Barbara there. And then, you know, I can always contact my publisher and say, hey, can you look into this? Can you do this? Or is there any way that we can like figure this out? And that's great. But um, as far as marketing and stuff goes, you know, I love having a publicist. I didn't for a long time, and it got to the stage that I didn't even have time to write, because when you're doing it all, you're literally doing it all. And then the time that you should be writing, you should be doing all this stuff, you can't. So for me, it's a massive thing. And I would never go back. I no, I couldn't see myself being able to do it on my own. It's like I got lazy, right? And I'm like, I just want to write now. Yeah.
It's a lot of balls to keep in the air, and you have to people. What I don't think a lot of people know is that, you know, being an author is like almost running your own small business, and you can't do everything, because if you try and do everything, you know, you either A, you're going to burn out, or B, you're going to not do everything to the, you know, as well as it should be done.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, many authors are not marketing experts, you know, they're not publicity experts. What have you found to be the best sort of publicity channels for you? I'm always curious to know what works for authors and why.
I like the social media aspect of it. I do very well online. I don't do very well face to face. I get very, I don't know, awkward, and you know, so I can talk you out of rain online. Give me a subject, I can talk you around anything. But so socially, yeah, you know, Twitter, you have you have Amazon, you have Twitter, you have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all that kind of stuff. So, but again, sometimes I'll do it and do it and do it, and then all of a sudden I grow a little bit paranoid and I won't do it for a week or two, and then I'll go back to doing it. So there's a lot of avenues out there. There's good reads, you know, there's smash words, you know, there's all the competitions that you can enter.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things, and the more competitions you enter and the more awards that you get, the more your book is more approachable, I guess. And the more reviews that you get. Reviews are so important. So the more reviews that you can get by being social and about, by not forcing, by pushing your like ARC reads before your book comes out, you know. So that's always a plus. And authors and stuff like that are very approachable when it comes to being an advanced reader before it comes out. So, you know, as this is, you know, the writing community, they're really good. So that's good.
One thing I always like to do is get to know my guests a little bit more through pop culture. And I'm curious to know, when you were growing up, what were some of the favorite things that you used to like to watch on TV, assuming you watch TV?
Oh, The Simpsons, Home and Away. It was an Australian show. EastEnders, Coronation Street, The Bill was a police show. The Gladiators. I used to love watching the Gladiators on Saturday evening.
Was that American Gladiators? Was that?
And there was an English Gladiators as well. So we used to love watching that. But as soon as we got home from school, The Simpsons was on.
Yeah.
And there was something else. Oh yeah, then Home and Away came on, and yeah.
What about now? What are some of the things you like to spend your time watching?
Ooh, Yellowstone.
No, I haven't gotten into it. I haven't tried to get into it yet.
Okay. Well, there's that, and then I love Vikings. Sons of Anarchy. I like all the serious ones. If I'm gonna watch a comedy kind of thing, it'll be a film. It won't really be a series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about a show called Evil? Have you heard of a show called Evil yet?
No, but I did watch Wednesday, and that was excellent.
I heard that's very good. Evil
Yeah.
is it's on the Paramount Plus network, and it's
Yeah.
basically the X-Files, but with demons
Oh,
instead of monsters. So it might be something that you enjoy.
that might be interesting. Yeah.
It's very good. It's very good. How about music? What did you like listening to when you were growing up?
No. Kylie Minogue.
Oh, of course.
Okay. Yeah.
Like Australians, apparently.
Yeah. So I used to love John Cicada. The Bee Gees, of course, ABBA. I grew up on all like the like ABBA and the Bee Gees and Leo Sayer and all that. But my all-time favorite was always Celine Dion.
Oh, wow.
And anything opera. I love Andrea Bocelli, Il Divo, like anything.
Mhm.
Yeah. If I like it, I'm gonna listen to it. And I love Ice Cube and
Some West Coast.
Eminem. It varies. It depends on my mood. I love Garth Brooks. It really depends.
Now, do you ever ask your husband to be like a human karaoke machine for you and play some Bee Gees?
Oh,
Something like that or no?
Bee Gees. No, but he is a musician, so he could probably, when he starts doing the Eminem music, I'm like, here we go. But he can yeah, he pretty much does everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then what do you say? What are some big insights you've learned about yourself, kind of going through having written so much? What have you learned about yourself?
My writing style has changed drastically. I look back on my first book, and I look at my writing, and I'm not ashamed of it, but I see the difference in how everything really. I used to, when I first started, I would write as I talk. So being Irish, our second language is the curse. So in my first book, I would just go off on it. And then when I reread it, I'm like, God, there's a lot of F's in that one. There's a lot of everything in that. And yeah, I don't I definitely find better words these days that would probably make people happier when they read it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I always have I like to think that I write for everybody. So I always have like there's always two of my characters who will always have like a love interest.
Oh.
That would be the same sex. Yeah. And I actually had friends that I had done two characters, Mackin and or Maliki and Hacken Mackin. And I got two of my friends to read it, and they were like, it's perfect. Don't take anything out, don't add anything. I'm like, okay. But it's you have to. Yeah.
Yeah. And then if you could go back in time and give the younger KK Weakley some words of advice, what would you whisper into her? Who's coming home watching The Simpsons every day? What would you tell her?
There's a lot of advice I would give myself. Are you talking about in life general or just in writing?
A little bit of both.
Oh. I want to life one. In writing wise, I would say don't change anything. Just do it. Like I wouldn't change anything the way I did anything. Because I've learned a lot of how not to do something and I wouldn't change anything.
Well, what were some of the big lessons you learned?
I think just to learn, it's hard to put into words. Like never pay for publishing. Don't do that. be resilient. You know, there was times that when I initially started, when you have to really get used to having responses from all these people saying it's not going to work, that doesn't work for us, no, blah blah blah. And then I've learned how, because of that, you grow thick skin. And then eventually, when they would come in then, and I would just be like, nah, okay, so yeah, you learn a lot when you've been doing it a long time. You learn what to get upset about and what to not care. I was gonna say something else, what to not care about. Yeah, I'm watching myself.
You could swear on here, it's okay.
Oh great. He tells me now. I had so much going on in my head, that's why I'm tripping over my words. I'm like, don't do it. Yeah.
Well, tell me, where can people go and buy any of your books, whether it's the Sekhet Saga or any of your other writings? Where can people go and buy them?
Well, they're everywhere online. It doesn't matter. You can just Google it and you'll find any of them. Some of the Sekhet Saga has been sold locally here, but I think for easiness sake, the best would be like the Book Depository, Amazon, Smashwords, all these, wherever.
Okay.
Yeah.
And social media. Do you have a website? Are you active on social media? Where can people follow you if they choose to do so?
No, God. Well, there's my website. There's Facebook, Twitter. Let me see. Let me count the ways. My website, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, simple site, TikTok, somewhere else. I don't know. They're just wherever. It's everywhere.
So we'll look for those social media handles and we'll put them in the show notes for anybody who wants to look you up or follow you. KK, thank you for stopping by and letting me uncork your story.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Uncorking a Story. If you'd like more information about today's guest or to find out more about Mike, go to uncorkingastory.com. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, rate, and review us at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Tune in every week to hear Mike Carlin uncork a new story.